Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. Pardon my morning voice. I don't know if you can even tell it's a morning voice, but it is a morning voice. Time to get out Tarot of the Cat People. Now I did have it out, I think last weekend as well. And I did a 5-card spread with it that was my Chinese element spread. So earth, air, fire, actually no air. Earth, water, fire, wood, and metal. And it did okay with that, but the metal position didn't work for me. It was a struggle, in other words. So, you know, my kind of end result or conclusion was that although I could use it for that in a pinch, I wouldn't use it for that normally. So I'm still kind of searching for whether this deck will work good in a spread, if it's more like a single pull. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do another 5-card spread, but it's one based on the Faeries Oracle. These cards don't strike me as being Fae, but that that spread could work really, I think, with just about any deck. And so what it is a central card, which is the essence of a situation. So the way that it's inspired by the Faeries Oracle by Brian Froud, in that I'm using the suits, so to speak, the sections, the classifications within that system to form the positions of a spread. So the central position is the essence of the situation. The above position is what rules the situation. The below position is your helper. The position on the right is what is leading you forward, or what can lead you forward, kind of what you should lean into to head in the right direction. And then on the left is a challenger, or what will hold you back. So I'm going to see how this deck does in a spread like that. That's a little bit more personality oriented, because these cards have really started to feel like personalities to me, rather than, say, a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which to me depicts a lot of situations. So, and I'm going to use, I've got my powers, the powers of the various cards here, or things like that. I've got that list here, and I'll probably look at that also. So I have already shuffled the cards, so let's pull some kitty people. Knight of Cups. So that's the essence of the situation. And I can already say that is following what you love. Finding what you love, following what you love. Perhaps even fighting for what you love. And in my case, I think that is actually a vocation or avocation, not a person. So interesting to start with. So what rules the situation comes next. 4 of Swords. Ugh. Yep. So so this is turning out like to be very readable. So what rules the situation? 4 of Swords. The need for R&R, rest and recreation. To you know, I really can't fully embrace this. I can't get to this until I honor this and figure this out. How to rejuvenate myself. What's the best way to have a little activity there with the kitties, not become totally stagnant, and yet rest. So yeah, I'm still recovering from whatever happened in the summertime that completely wiped me out. Let my Lyme disease get out of control, sort of thing. So this is what rules it. So next position will be on the right, which, was my fairy guide. The Five of Wands. The Five of Wands. So I think that this, especially in the near future, is disentanglement. Disentanglement. And it's interesting because the Five of Wands is traditionally kind of a card of competition. And I recently had a reading within the last month or 6 weeks in which the Five of Wands came up as the thing that I needed to engage in and embrace. So maybe I'm misinterpreting this. Maybe it's saying that I need to get in the fray, but I'm too tired to even admit it. Except that this is not a card of competition to me. So this is where this deck departs. There's no flexibility in the focus, but anyway, I'll put it down here. There's no because here, I wouldn't even call it competition with the self. It's like he's failing at juggling something. In good spirits, like the cat seems to be sort of enjoying the confusion here and trying to help and getting in the middle of it. But either he needs more skill, which is one thing, or he needs to let some of the things just go and go for a situation of less complexity. And that's a message of more than one card in this deck, is kind of leaning towards simplicity. If he was properly juggling, then he would be letting some of it go. In other words, he would be letting some of it go up in the air to catch in a sequence, right? And return to the air, so to go sequentially. So it could also be that I need to learn to do that. But here he's not able to do that, and so things are just falling to the ground. And so I think that the start is to decide what to let fall and what to keep. Okay. So the cat people are making a lot of sense in this particular reading, this type of reading. So underneath, helper. Ooh, the tower. And the kitty tower has turned up for me before, but I can't remember what it was in. All right, so it kind of reinforces the guide position here. So this is, to me, is dropping maybe tasks or to-dos and simplifying that so that I feel like I can complete things. And it also reinforces, the need for rest here. This, it might just even be, I've never looked at the tower that way, but maybe even letting some relationships just fall away. Not to eliminate them intentionally, but just let them fall away. Let the past fall away. So I need to think, okay, so this is the helper. So if this is the helper, then what is helping is this. right? It's the thunderbolt that is helping you see that a structure no longer serves you. An organization maybe no longer serves you. And in fact is only really sort of imprisoning you, because you stay in it, you never get outside of it. So the helper is this, which makes so much sense if you think of this as a fairy spread, because that's like an enraged Tinkerbell or something, right? And that does make a lot of sense with this and with some things I've been thinking about recently. There are familiar things that I want to dive back into and continue. And this is kind of, but I've questioned that recently. I've really been questioning it. And this seems to be indicating that that's right. That I need to pay attention to my enraged Tinkerbell bolts that are saying, no, don't go back to the other way. Don't go back to anything that narrows. This is a narrowing. Don't go back to anything that narrows your scope, kind of. Narrows the people that you're associating with or exposed to. So curious, really. Because I confess I do feel the security issue coming up. It's like, well, if I'm not staying with the familiar, then who am I going to, oh my God, starting over, oh my God, all of that kind of. I can feel it in the background. It's not welling up, it's not a super anxiety, but I feel it back there as a resistance. As kind of like, well, how can that possibly be beneficial? But again, that strikes me as very Fae. They have no interest in coddling for the most part. So, all right. So final position is here. This is my challenger. And I think a lot of this has been about my challenge, actually. But this is the thing that can hold me back. So if this is trying to pull me forward, and really this is trying to pull me forward, this card is trying to hold me back. Page of Swords. Page of Swords. So I take that as, in this case, it's going to be that internal critic. Some of the thoughts I was just having associated with the Tower. Even because this Page of Swords, and to me, a Page of Swords may have objections, but they don't have a real argument. They're not mature enough to have developed a real argument. But this Page of Swords is attacking my Knight of Cups, unwisely attacking a tiger. And what I can see of this is how I see this happening. If I unroll this, if I step into a moment of what might be considered path working, I see this page saying, don't ignore me. What I have to say is important. And taking that sword and poking that tiger in the butt. And the tiger spins around and says, who on earth do you think you are? But that serves this Page of Swords because it distracts the tiger or the Knight of Cups from moving forward. So I need to beware of that sort of poking. Normally, I'm pretty good at ignoring outer poking. But yeah, that I wonder if there will be some resistance from those around me that keep me turning backwards, looking at the past, thinking I need to address the past, thinking perhaps I need to justify, which is always dangerous, right? But I will say this, certainly when this is my internal, what I think of as internal knowledge or internal criticism of a path forward, yes, I will redirect my attention to that. I will perhaps give that too much importance instead of the act of just moving forward, letting things fall away. So I would say that this is by far the best spread for this deck that I have come across, is treating it like the Faerie's Oracle, or like personalities, even though there are situations here. And so what have I got? I've got 1 wand, 1 cup, or no, I've got 2 swords, 1 wand, 1 cup, and 1 major. And it's interesting, the 2 swords also with the 4 of swords up here being about kind of a rest from all this poking, and yet the poking is still active. It's still trying to get in there and have a say. All right, so let me, and then the major down here was in my helper, which to me the helpers are not as strong as the guide, and certainly not the ruler. But I do have a really strong card there, so it kind of, to me, moves it up in importance. So let me look at my powers to see how my powers that I've come up with make any sense here. So my helper I have as the power of disruption. And there's some truth to that, but I really was interpreting it in a somewhat different way, like letting things fall away. So I would say I preferred my intuitive interpretation over this little system I've created here. So the essence, the Knight of Cups. I had the pride of power the power of pride and success. And again, I preferred my intuitive interpretation, which just struck me as completely obvious. The ruler, which was the 4 of swords, is the courage to admit weakness. You need a break. Well, that's true. Very, very true. But it's part of just the general interpretation of the card. And the 5 of Wands as the guide. I had the power of dexterity, which I think I haven't developed. So again, I prefer my it could be that, the guide will help me manage all of those things, but I think I need to start with what's in my hand And just like this is saying, let the other 3 fall when I can figure out how to maybe automate them or something. I think this is also saying don't deal with more than 5 things at a time. I can be an idea generator, and so I can generate more ideas. Yeah, so my mind can be a bit of a trap that way, or lead to a lot of circular thinking and not getting anything done. So I need to be careful about that, I think. And lastly, the Challenger, that Page of Swords. Is the power of drive and will. And I could see how that might be something that I just need to turn off right now. As I said, the Page of Swords and the Four of Swords are really at odds with each other. And so this is the Challenger. This is what rules. So this is going to be, this has more power than that does. This is, to me, this is peskiness. This is peskiness. So I need to be careful about how I react to the poking of others, and to be especially aware of internal poking, self-critical, naggy, especially anything that tries to get me to turn back. That was just the main thing I was getting intuitively, is that this pokes because it wants attention, and if that redirects, then it's taking me off of the path that I need to be on. It disrupts the movement forward. Only the angry Tinkerbell should be allowed to disrupt my path forward. And I think that this angry Tinkerbell is not disrupting a path forward. It's disrupting stagnancy. All right, everybody. That was another attempt at using the cool Tarot of the Cat People deck, and by far the most successful, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I almost think that this works for this spread better than the Fairies does. So I'm very happy with that. And knowledge of this will guide me in whatever sort of spread I use this in next. I'm going to think more in terms of it being like personalities. So maybe this would be a deck to try, given the season, it is October, to try some ancestor work with. Not something I would have initially thought to do with this deck, but it's a thought. And I'm needing to get back to some of that ancestor work. All right, there you go. Take care, everybody. And I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.